salute the agricultural history of Colorado State, formerly Colorado A&M. Not a lot to celebrate right now, trailing 17-0. Let's check in with Natalie Vickers and see how they're feeling at Utah State.
Well, not so happy. I caught up with Coach Anderson as he was coming back onto the field, and I thought I'd get a happy guy. Nope, he was very serious and very upset about the 2 touchdowns that his team left on the field. He said that is absolutely not acceptable. He said it is not good enough, and we need to take advantage of every opportunity. I mentioned that his team was young, and we talked about that going into the game, and the fact that going into the half, they realized they can be stopped at any time by this CSU Ram defense. So he said, we have to capitalize on every opportunity.
Gary, we've seen the numbers. We've seen how your team has played through the first 30 minutes. You ought to be pretty proud of what your Aggies have been able to produce so far. Jacobs is back to receive the opening kick of the third quarter, the second half, and he takes a knee deep in the end zone. So Utah State will have it first down and 10 at the Aggie 25-yard line. Utah State won the opening toss, deferred its choice to the second half. So Chucky Keaton and company have an opportunity to take the field and pad that score a little bit more as we move into the third quarter of play. Utah State scored in its opening possession of the game, a 26-yard touchdown run by Kerwin Williams. And since then, it's been uphill for the Rams ever since.
Let's look at the first drive in the third quarter as a barometer. Is it just going to be more of the same, or is something going to change? And for CSU, something drastic has to change right away, and that's a nice stop there on first down.
Shaq Barrett tripping up Kerwin Williams, who already has 100 yards rushing in the game. 14 carries, 105 with that touchdown, averaging 7.5 yards per carry. He entered this game 48 carries on the season, 201 yards total on the ground through 3 games. Pickup of 2, that's all, after the nice tackle by Barrett. There's Kellen Bartlett doing all the movement behind the line. And Keaton's pass is complete, and then the ball's jarred loose. Caught by Joe Hill momentarily, and the ball rolls out of bounds at the 28-yard line.
Look at Shaq Bell close on this ball and deliver the hit. Knocks that ball out. So that's back-to-back good plays for the Rams on first and second down to now create a third and long. That is a nice hit. So they have an opportunity right here to rise up and make a stop on third down. Don't let Utah State do what Utah State did throughout the first half.
And let's go 8 of 11 on third down tries. Third down and 6. That's Oden, number 17, moving over to the right side of the Ram defense. And Keaton looks the other way, and that pass is caught by Hill. He stumbles down. Bernard Blake was in the neighborhood. In all likelihood, Hill wasn't going anywhere. It's a loss of a yard, third down, and I beg your pardon, it's a loss back to the 25, loss of 3, fourth down and 10. Bennett will kick it away. Joe Hensley stands at his 29-yard line. And Hensley will see it bounce at the 33, and there will be no return. So that's a good start for Colorado State's defense. A group of guys that were on the field forever throughout the first half.
Now the offense needs to respond. You get a touchdown here, it's a 17-7 game, and then you understand why head coach Gary Anderson at Utah State is upset. If they score a touchdown right here, they're still in this game as opposed to being completely out of it if Utah State had taken advantage of every opportunity. But just a big moment for Grayson and this offense to settle down, put together a nice long drive, put some points on the board.
40-yard punt. First down and 10 at the 30. And Morris, the handoff, left side, goes back the other way. He's got a lot of room in front of him, and he's moving. He's got Brady chasing him, and Brady pushes him out of bounds. A 34-yard pickup by Tommy Morris, the backup tailback, who had a nice game back in the first half.
Play starts off to the left, and he just ends up cutting all the way back to the right side of the formation. You know, doesn't quite have the speed to completely break away, but man, he runs low, he runs with power, and he is surprisingly agile. They have found something in this young man, Tommy Morris.
To the 37-yard line. Nowhere to go this time. Lapuaho, number 90, in there with a bunch of other Aggies.
But man, Jim McElwain, there's Lapuaho right there. I mean, he is a big human being. Can you imagine? You're just going to get your dinner and he's standing between you and your meal. I mean, you might just starve to death. You say, no, thank you.
6'3", 284. Loss of 1, back to the 38. Grayson goes to the middle screen, and that's caught by Lovett, and he is rocked as soon as he made the catch.
Now, I don't quite understand the consistency here. That, to me, looked like a helmet-to-helmet hit, just as we saw was called earlier in the game. And, you know, he's running out. I mean, he's not launching himself at the guy's head, but he hits helmet-to-helmet very much like the previous play. So I'm not sure why one gets called and the other one doesn't.
Avea Lasike is the one who hit him. 3rd down and 13 for Colorado State. The Rams are just 2 of 7 on their 3rd down tries.
And most of them are like this, 3rd and 13.
Grayson has some time, goes underneath. That pass is caught, and he's pushed back by, that's Dominic Vinson, who's pushed back to the 40-yard line. So after the big run of 34 yards by Tommy Morris, Colorado State ends up going backwards, and now 4th down and 13. And here comes Kantadiakis to punt it away.
So, you know, it's not a complete loss. If they can get a good punt here and pin them back, maybe pin this ball back inside the 10, you've won the field position battle. You hold them again, you get another chance.
6th punt for Colorado State. And the ball bounces inside the 5, and again it rolls into the end zone. Second chance that the Rams have had to down the ball inside the 5, and they have not been able to do it either time. 40-yard kick for Kantadiakis. And Utah State will have the football and the lead when we come back. All the way back to 1893. There's a lot of history at CSU, and for more on that, let's go down to Natalie Vickers and a special guest.
Well, that's right. I am with the volunteer athletic historian, John Hearn, and he wrote this fantastic book. He's been the volunteer, we're going to get into that, athletic historian for 4 years, but doing this about 20 years. Tell us, how did the Aggies go from Aggies to Rams?
Well, you know, we were always the Aggies. We were Colorado Agricultural College at first, and then you're just naturally the Aggies when that happens. And coming out of World War II, there was a real need for having a mascot. So the people of the school voted in 1945 to have a ram as their mascot, and then the Ram became more of a nickname, and you had the Aggies and the Rams kind of fighting with one another. You had the old Aggies from the 20s saying, no, we're not Aggies, we're Rams. And it really took the 40s and the 50s for them to transition over and become the Rams. And then really since the 1960s, we have fully been the Colorado State Rams.
I could just envision that, fighting over the name of the school. So how did you become the volunteer athletic historian? That's such an interesting role. And you've been doing this for 20 years, but only got that title the past 4 years. Right.
I kind of got the title when I put the book out. You know, I was a history student at Colorado State, and then I was also the sports editor of the yearbook. So in 1992, we had our 100th anniversary of football, and I wrote an article in the yearbook. Well, that article was only 8 pages long, and I realized that there was a lot more to do with that article, so I decided to write a full-length book. I stayed up nights and put it together myself, and then now it's out in the stores here in Fort Collins. It's
a pretty cool, big coffee table book. I would enjoy it. Where would I get one of these bad boys?
You've got the Rams bookstore, which is at Laurel and Mason. Then you have the University bookstore, which is at in the Laurie Student Center.
That's some good CSU history happening. What happened, guys?
Pass is picked off by Trent Matthews, Natalie, and it's a second turnover generated by the Colorado State defense. So the Rams will have it, good field position at midfield. Let's send it back down to you.
Oh, well, John, we get some more time to talk about your book. So what was the best part of putting together this book?
You know, really finding pictures that you didn't realize were there in the archives of the university, and finding games that were really historic games that we had pictures of that brought the history alive and telling those stories that that the former athletes and the school is really needs to know, and fans really need to know some of these great things that have happened.
All right, getting to work on the offense, guys. Back to you.
Thank you, Natalie, and thank you, John. Boy, that's a lot of work, and hopefully it's not thankless to be a volunteer historian, because you got to go way back in the archives and dig all that stuff up. And I love seeing the old video.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Nice. It is.
I thought I saw you in that.
Oh,
man.
Maybe just about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But man, what a difference in the third quarter now for the Rams. They look like a different team. They make a good stop on defense when they come out. The offense moves the ball, gets a little bit of movement. They have to punt it. Now we get a turnover. Here the offense back on the field. Things are looking better.
Law in double coverage. Grayson decided to force it in there anyway, and the ball's knocked down. Really to no surprise. We've not talked about Crockett Gilmore, Kevon Cartwright, the tight ends for Colorado State that have been so valuable in the offense this season.
That is true. It's interesting that we have not seen. I don't know. I know that they have caught a. But I'm not sure if they've caught a pass, honestly. You would think that they would be more of a staple in this offense because they have been. They're consistent. Those are the guys you go to. But for some reason, we're not seeing them.
3rd down and 8. And by the way, that interception throw by Chucky Keaton, just his second pick thrown this year. Colorado State, that was the first interception for the CSU defense. And timeout has been called by Colorado State on 3rd down and 8. So CSU has played respectable football here in the second half so far. See if they can turn it into some points after the turnover. How many? 25, exit 259 Crossroads in Loveland.
Utah State doing a great job converting 66% of their third downs. They have not allowed any big plays, a couple of big runs. Colorado State didn't get into the end zone early. That's a problem, but they have protected their punter, and he has helped them with averaging 45 yards per kick. And then look at this. Stephen Michael getting loose. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not Stephen Michael.
Charles Lovett.
Charles Lovett.
And a penalty flag came in very late. The gain is to the 33-yard line.
Personal foul, grabbing the face mask, number defense, a 15-yard penalty and a first down.
So a first down on a 3rd down try, and then a 15-yard penalty tacked on. And CSU's going to have the football, first down and 10 deep in Utah State territory.
This was a double screen. They had screens set up on both sides of the ball, and you can see the offensive lineman coming out to block. Here they are already out in the route trying to block. So this is a double screens, and then Lovett just making a good job. And there was the little grab on the face mask right at the end of this play. What a difference in the energy for the Rams in this third quarter.
The ball is at the 18-yard line. 4 penalties now flagged against Utah State. 55 big yards. This is Morris. And he moves the pile to the 11-yard line.
I tell you what, this Morris, they have found a back. Look at how strong he runs. He finds the hole, almost breaks that tackle. Probably would have broken it if another defender hadn't gotten in there, but just a strong run. And that's the kind of run, man, you will get your teammates fired up. Everybody gets excited.
Colorado State has finally gone over 100 yards in total offense in the game. We were talking earlier about receivers. Only 4 CSU Rams have caught a pass in this game, and prior to that big play by Lovett, just 12 yards through the air, and Morris slips down after taking the handoff. He's a 6', 225-pound freshman out of Odessa, Texas. Played at Permian High School. That's a Friday Night Lights fame.
Yeah.
They take their football pretty seriously.
They do. I grew up down in Texas. Odessa Permian and what was their neighbor? Midland Lee. Midland Lee. Those are big rivals. They have I think when I was in high school, they had a 25,000 seat stadium at Odessa Permian. I mean, it's just big time football.
I think one of those West Texas schools built something like a $60 million stadium recently. 3rd down and 3. Grayson with time and nearly had it intercepted. He's locked in on Lou Greenwood. And Will Davis saw that the entire way, made a break but couldn't hold on to it. So that's going to bring Jared Roberts on for a field goal try as Colorado State tries to get on the board.
Here was another example of Grayson. He just waited through the moment to throw that ball. He dropped back. He was about to throw it. Then he didn't, and then he did throw it. And the defender broke on the ball when it should have been thrown. That's why it was almost picked off.
Well, now Colorado State breaks formation.
Tricky.
It's 4th down and 3. And Utah State is begging for a timeout. That's McPeak, MJ McPeak, a backup quarterback who was in there.
Timeout.
You know, and McPeak, he was a walk-on. He's now on scholarship. So here, that's interesting. He comes out. They shift out. He's a quarterback. You know, he's a senior. He's never played. He's got a great attitude. He's been a backup to several different guys. But here he is taking the snap on maybe, you know, the biggest play of the half for them right now. So watch them. They line up here, and then boom, here you go. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 guys heading out to the other side. You got 3 in the middle, and the defense isn't sure what to do. They're not sure how to match up to this.
Well, you got about 7 guys over there for Utah State bunched over there on the top of the screen. You know, the Utah State coaches were sprinting down the sidelines begging for that timeout,
right,
and finally got it. It comes with 7:14 left to play in the 3rd quarter. 4th down and 3, and now the Rams essentially forced Utah State to burn a timeout.
Right.
Both teams have 2 left. Now, are they going to do it again? It's a 28-yard field goal try. McPeak is the holder. Roberts' kick is good. So Colorado State is on the board with 7:10 left to play in the 3rd quarter, and it's a 2-score game, 17-3. Utah State has the lead, but CSU has played better in the second half. State had all the momentum in the world, but Colorado State has played much better, a little more spirited offensively and defensively. And only 3 points to show for it, but Jim McElwain and his staff have to be much happier about what they've seen out of their squad the first 8 minutes or so of the 3rd quarter than what they saw the first 30 minutes during the first half. And that's going to be another touchback. Ball fielded by Reynolds. And Colorado State's gotten a pretty good performance so far from an unexpected star. If you
read his blocks and find the open spaces. He doesn't quite have speed, but he's got get loose speed. He's got get 27 yard speed. He's got 70 yards on 6 carry speed with a 33 long. That's not bad.
And Colorado State's had its issues keeping guys healthy in the backfield. Chris Woke, expected to be an all-conference performer, got hurt in the Colorado game, did not play the last 2 weeks. Donnell Alexander, who saw most of the action after Woke got hurt, he got hurt with an ankle sprain, a left ankle sprain at San Jose State last week, so he's not playing. We've seen Woke briefly. We don't know if he's 100% or not. Although Jim McElwain will tell you, if you're going to play, that means you are 100%.
Right.
But Tommy Moore, and he's looked good. 4-yard pickup on the first down play on this drive for Utah State. 2nd down and 6 from the 29. Keaton fixed the handoff. He throws, and that pass is intercepted by Bell. He read it perfectly, waited for that ball, which was underthrown, and Keaton has thrown his 2nd interception of the game.
And I think that Keaton just did not see Shaq Bell at all, or it was just a drastic underthrow. One of the two, because he threw it right to him. He looks over there, makes the throw. Shaq Bell just says, "Thank you. I appreciate that. That's what I came here for."
Bell's a junior out of Florida, 5'11", 195. 3rd Utah State turnover. One in the first half, very, very late, as the Aggies were marching to what appeared to be another score in the final minute. Inside screen, this is Lovett. He's taking it back to the outside, and he's pulled down from behind.
Yeah, that was interesting play. That screen came back into the defenders. If they'd just kept him out there, they might have had something more to work with. But you know, I like where CSU is headed with this. I like the energy they're playing with. They've got a little spark to them. They feel like they can do something. And you know, Natalie was joking about how Gary Anderson came out of the locker room upset. Well, you see why. The momentum shifts, and suddenly this is still a ball game. It's a 14-point game.
Gain of 3. And this is Morris. Right side for about 3. Maybe a couple more. Rams in Aggie territory. The ball at the 47-yard line. So another third down opportunity for CSU. Now, the opening game, the win over Colorado, the Rams were anemic on third down in the first half, but turned things around dramatically in the second half. They're able to sustain some drives. So far, just 3 of 10. Colorado State trailed that game 14-9, but had the momentum going into the locker room at halftime.
Nice. They run the ball. They had man coverage on the outside. I thought they might be going to the slant route on the outside, but you get that man coverage, you spread it out, and then you've created some room for yourself on the inside to run. Good blocking up front, good hard running, easy first down. That's
Kevon Cartwright, the tight end. Well, we were talking a little while ago that we'd not seen the tight ends catch any passes from Grayson. They still haven't, but the Rams love to get that guy involved in the offense, and they decided to put him in the backfield. So Cartwright with the carry picks up the first down. And Hansley, the freshman, takes the direct snap. Gives it to Lovett. Lovett gives it back to Grayson, who was lined up as a wide receiver. He throws it to Lovett, who's wide open along the far sideline and driven out of bounds at the 14-yard line.
That was convoluted. It was Machiavellian. I mean, nobody knew where that ball was going. Oh, that was brilliant. Look at this. So you get the direct snap to the running back. You pitch it back to the quarterback. He throws it back to the receiver.
That's what you drew up in the park, in the dirt, and said, let's try this.
That is remarkable.
First down and 10, a gain of 26. From the 14 to the 11, a pickup of 3 by Morris with 4 minutes to play in the third quarter.
You know, prior to today's game, Tommy Morris had 5 carries for 2 yards. That's it. This kid has exploded this afternoon. He has announced that he's here to play, and I think he's going to get a lot of carries from here going forward.
So it is Joe Hansley goes in. Good day for Morris. We didn't expect to even see him. Thought that Woke would get the bulk of the carries.
Okay.
Hansley goes in motion to the near side. And this is Grayson. Design quarterback run, penalty flag on the play. Grayson moves across the 10, brought down at the 9. But don't be surprised if the Rams march back because of a holding call.
Yeah, that's the neighborhood where holding gets called.
Chop block, number 15 on offense. 15-yard penalty, repeat third down.
So chop block, if one blocker has him engaged up high, you cannot come in and hit the guy low, and that happens a lot inadvertently. It used to happen a lot purposely, you know, as a dirty play, but now it almost always is inadvertent. It happens this time.
Tyson Brilo, a sophomore out of Watsonville, California. His dad played at Colorado, was the guilty party, and that'll back the Aggies, I beg your pardon, the Rams, back to the 22-yard line. Grayson to the air, and that pass is out of the reach of Luke Greenwood. Will Davis was back covering on the play. And now third down and very long, 3rd and 22.
So they tried to execute the double move, but it doesn't work. He is not fooled. Actually, that double move is too slow. You know, so Luke Greenwood, when he runs that route, he's got to chop his feet and then take off again because the defender was not fooled by that at all.
Grayson last week at San Jose State had a career day. He went 24 of 42 for 297 yards, threw a couple of touchdown passes, also ran for one, and he's followed that up by going 6 of 14 for 30 yards against Utah State, which has One of the top defenses in the country, ranked 13th in total defense, and Colorado State uses its second timeout of the half. Rams are now down to 1. This one called with 3:07 left to play in the third quarter.
You know, no matter what happens on this drive, if they score, if they don't score, this is a successful drive for CSU. They're out there, they're controlling the ball, they're moving the ball, they've made a couple of mistakes, they're recovering from those mistakes. I think they build confidence from this.
Let's check in once again with our Natalie Vickers.
Guys, I just wanted to give you a little information on Joe Hansley, give the viewers. He's a freshman. He's the guy that keeps getting the direct snaps. First time he ran the ball, second time he pitched the ball, as we just saw. Coach says he has good qualities. He's steady into the ball. He has good judgment. But once he gets a hold of the ball, you guys watch out because running's in his blood. His dad, Todd, was a running back at Indiana. His grandfather, the same at the Ohio State, even going on to play for the Cleveland Browns in the 60s. Just imagine those Thanksgiving family get-togethers. I would have loved to see those at Highlands Ranch, Colorado, just up the road.
I guess in football, just nonstop on Thanksgiving when the Hansleys get together. They love Joe Hansley. I believe he was the first guy in Colorado to give Jim McElwain a commitment and say, "Coach, I'm in." The first recruit to his class of 2012, and he made a pretty good debut against Colorado. Had a couple of catches, including a 33-yarder that resulted in a touchdown. And this is Hansley right on cue. Spins at the 15 and gets the ball down to the 14-yard line. That coming on 3rd down and 22. There's still a long way to go on 4th down.
So he comes all the way across the field from left to right, and you can tell when he gets the balls in his hands, he's very comfortable with it in his hands. He's trying to make plays. True freshman. This is a kid who looks like he has a lot of potential and is going to really turn out to be a player.
So here's Jared Roberts, who's a walk-on to the Rams program. He's 4 of 5 on the year. This is a 31-yard try. He made a 28-yarder earlier, 4 of 5 on the season. Walked on from Mullen High School, a powerhouse program in Denver. And he's good for the second time in the half. Now 5 of 6 on the season. They love that cannon here at Hughes Stadium. I'm not sure Reggie does. But nevertheless, Colorado State is able to take advantage of another Utah State turnover to get 3 more points on the board. We got an 11-point game.
Well, this is how it has happened. Aggies driving down the field, complete a pass near the end zone, turn the ball over. That was before the half. Then a great play right there to pick him off. Trent Matthews makes that pick, and then Shaq Bell adds on. So that's 3 turnovers, and the past, in this quarter and before the right before the half, that have changed the momentum in this game.
Well, we joked a bit at the start of the third quarter. Natalie said she spoke with Gary Anderson and found the coach to be in somewhat of a surly mood. And I think right now he should be a little surly because his team was in control of this game completely throughout the first 30 minutes. And Utah State, as Reynolds takes this one and takes it for the touchback. Utah State last week at Wisconsin led 14-3 at the half, was held scoreless in the second half because of mistakes, and ended up losing that game 16-14. Well, they led here 17-0 at the break and allowed the Rams to kick a couple of field goals. Jim McElwain's team still has a little bit of work to do, and you can see the intensity and the angst on a coach who has not lost 2 games in a row since the 2007 season when he was the offensive coordinator at Fresno State. After that, he went to Alabama, and you may have heard they had some success the last 4 years while he was the offensive coordinator. But losses to North Dakota State and San Jose State the first time that Jim McElwain has suffered back-to-back setbacks in a season.
Utah is a veteran crew, and look at this, 19 starters returning, 8 on offense, 6 on defense, and 5 on special teams. And you can see that in the way that they play. They play with a maturity. They play with a calmness about them. And in that first half, they were completely in control. We'll see how that veteran unit responds now in the second half.
2nd down and 10, pass complete, gain of 6. And 3rd down is coming up. Travis Reynolds on the catch.
Flying out of there. It's usually your shoe just falls off. That shoe came flying off like it was shot off. I've never seen a shoe fly so far.
Third down and 3 coming up. Utah State's last 4 drives, a fumble, a punt, back-to-back interceptions. They've gained just 31 yards on their last 4 drives.
So CSU just had to use this last timeout because they didn't have the right personnel on the field on defense.
That's
their
a killer.
Final charge timeout, a 25-second timeout.
So that comes with 1:11 left to play in the third quarter.
No more timeouts. So they used one moment of confusion on offense. Now here on the defense, they're about to get a penalty call on for 12 men on the field, so they've got to use another one. Then they use one for legitimate purposes, but this is part of the maturation of the program too, just being able to manage the game and the players know where they're supposed to be and doing the right thing. So now McElwain has to coach the rest of this game, if things get close, to know he has no timeouts left in his arsenal.
Yeah, so now you go back to practice and think, okay, remember what our clock management drills are. We're still in this game. We get another field goal, we got an 8-point game. We get a touchdown, we're even tighter. So now you got to go back to what you've been working on since he was hired on December 13th of 2011. And game management, clock management is going to be essential for Garrett Grayson. But they need to stop here, 3rd down and 3. Keaton with the inside pitch to Williams. He picks up the first down. Stopped at the 42-yard line. Nice call.
Yes.
By Gary Anderson and company.
That is a nice play. This is the underneath pitch, and you got a lead blocking guard. You had another guard down the field, like 10 yards down the field, making a block. I mean, just CSU had no idea where this ball was going. Brilliant call.
Matt Wells is the offensive coordinator. Gary Anderson's trade as a coach has been as a defensive coach. And this is Williams up the middle again, and Williams is off to the end zone, and he's going to score. That's a Utah State touchdown. Concern, though, for Utah State because Chucky Keaton was belted after handing the ball to Williams, and he's just now getting up back at the 34-yard line.
He gets leveled on this play. Here comes the hit, and meanwhile, running right up the middle of the field, nobody, he got touched, but barely. It's just a gigantic hole. So watch, here's the hit, and Garrett was on the ground. I'm sorry, not Garrett, but Chucky Keaton was on the ground for the entire play.
He was in no mood to celebrate. That was a 58-yard touchdown run by Kerwin Williams, a run that has dramatically changed the atmosphere in Fort Collins. 24-6 after the point after, a 4-play, 75-yard drive that was capped off by the 58-yard touchdown run.
I think I said in the first quarter that Kerwin Williams is going to end up with 160 yards, and he's at like 160 yards, isn't he?
No, he's at 19 carries for 189 yards. He entered the game with just 201 on the season. His best game to date was against Utah in the second game of the year. Carried 17 times for 95 yards, and he scored the game-winning touchdown in overtime. Yeah. Credit Utah State. We talked to Gary Anderson earlier this week, and every year that he's been there, they've been competitive against somebody. It used to be that this was one of those games that you kind of checked off and made sure that everybody got out of there healthy, and you would go and move on. But Utah State in his first season nearly won at A&M, lost that game 38-30. Lost at Oklahoma his second season 31-24. The one that I think really opened people's eyes was the opening game of last season, 2011. They controlled the game against Auburn, the defending national champion, minus Cam Newton. But nevertheless, in Auburn, 42-38, they lost that game late. But that one, I think, is probably the one that they got the most mileage out of, that you could kind of tell people had bought in. It was year 3. They knew what was expected. He'd had 2 years to drill things into his team. They may have lost the game. They played well. Then they go on a couple of weeks later to beat BYU. Right. And let's face it, that's a really big deal out there. Now they've beaten Utah this season. They'll play BYU in a couple of weeks. They should have won, quite frankly, at Wisconsin last week, but it was mistakes that they made, not so much that they got outplayed, that caused them to not be 3-0 this year.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. These are two programs that are very similar in that they are young, they are developing, They're trying to find an identity, but Utah State is about to move up a tier in the rankings of the FBS. You know, if these two programs are on the same tier, Colorado State wants to be where Utah State is 3 years from now, and that's the plan with McElwain, is to take the same approach that Gary Anderson has had and kind of move his program forward. But they are knocking on the door right now.
But, you know, Jim McElwain's going to say, not 3 years from now, 3 weeks from now. But he understands what the process is all about. This is the 8th stop in Jim McElwain's coaching career, but the first time that he's been a head coach. So he's been around, and I think what's most significant to the folks in these parts, as is Gary Anderson to Utah State, there's a pass complete to Lovett, and he's hit immediately by Kyler Fackrell, is the fact that Jim McElwain is from the neighborhood. He played college football at Eastern Washington. He was a quarterback there in the early 1980s. He knows the region. He knows Montana. He knows what Idaho, Colorado, the Front Range, the northwestern quadrant of the U.S. is all about. Gary Anderson is a Utah guy. He knows what that state's about and the kind of player that Utah State attracts that might be different from a Utah or a BYU. And that's the final play of the third quarter. And as a result, you get somebody who understands the culture. Perhaps that process can be sped up just a little bit. But it's a work in progress for Jim McElwain. But he has to be pleased with the way his team played in the third quarter, forcing a couple of turnovers, getting on the board with a couple of field goals. That last touchdown, though, really, really hurts. Meanwhile, Utah State's probably breathing a little bit easier right now as we go to the fourth quarter.
Oh, man, we were having a game. We were about to have a game. That close.
Yep.